Tonight, if your mind is busy and you can't quite switch it off, you don't have to fight it. You're just going to lie back, get comfortable, and let me walk you slowly through the Appalachian Mountains, through quiet valleys, forgotten towns, distant lights on lonely hillsides, and old railroad tracks fading into the trees. These are 10 unsolved Appalachian mysteries, told gently, without jump scares, without urgency, and without anything you need to remember. You don't have to stay awake. You don't have to listen closely. Just let the mountains get darker, the stories get softer, and if your eyes start to close, that's exactly what they're meant to do. And welcome to this peaceful journey where the mountains of Appalachia unfold before you. The air here is cool and fresh, the kind of air that carries with it whispers of the past. It's a land full of quiet secrets, places that time has forgotten, and mysteries that have waited patiently for years. You might be here because your mind is racing, or perhaps you've had a long day and just want to let go. Whatever it is, you don't need to worry. You're in the right place. In this space, we're going to let go of all the worries that try to keep us awake. You can simply listen to the soft rhythm of the stories as we drift through each one. And if by chance you're still awake and would like to, feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel so you can return whenever you like, and if you're still awake, leave a comment telling me where you're listening from. But remember, there is no rush. Take your time and allow yourself to sink into the calm. Now, let's begin our gentle journey. We'll travel through 10 quiet Appalachian mysteries, each one like a photograph taken long ago. We won't rush through them. We'll linger softly on the details, like we're walking slowly through old photographs. As we move from story to story, you might notice how the landscape shifts from mountains to valleys, from long-lost towns to forgotten tracks. These are places that have stories of their own, stories that continue to unfold even when no one is watching. We'll visit each place gently, listening to the whispers they leave behind. The stories may seem strange at times, but we won't be looking for answers. We'll simply observe, like the quiet mountain winds, and let the stories be as they are, mysterious, still, and calm. Now I invite you to get even more comfortable. If you're in bed, find that perfect position where you can just let go. Maybe adjust your pillow or smooth out the blankets around you. Slow your breathing, letting each breath fall gently in and then out. It's okay if you feel a little restless right now. This is your time to unwind, to let go of the day. So let's move slowly, calmly through these mountains, knowing that we don't have to solve anything tonight. Just let the stories wash over you, as soft as the evening mist that drifts across the hills. Que estéis. We'll begin with a mountain where lights have appeared for over a century, dancing in the distance just beyond the tree line, as if the mountains themselves were alive with secrets. This is the story of the Brown Mountain Lights. If your eyes are heavy, that's okay. You don't need to stay awake for any of this. Just let yourself float deeper into the calm. We're still in the Appalachian Mountains, and tonight we'll hear the tale of strange lights that appear on the distant hills of Brown Mountain. Brown Mountain sits quietly in North Carolina, nestled between the valleys and ridges that make up the Blue Ridge Range. The air here is thick with the scent of pine trees, and the ground is covered in layers of leaves that have fallen from the trees over decades. As dusk falls, the mountains become darker and the stillness settles in. On clear nights, the sky seems to stretch forever above, a canvas of stars that twinkle like forgotten wishes. This is where the mystery begins, a series of lights, faint at first, then growing stronger, appearing and fading on the distant hillsides. It's been happening for over 100 years. Long before the lights began to appear, Brown Mountain was a place of quiet solitude. People who lived in the nearby foothills worked the land, raised families, and carved out simple lives for themselves in the shadow of the mountains. The mountain itself was known for its beauty, its streams that meandered through the valleys, and its peaceful stillness that could calm even the busiest of minds. For generations, the people of the area grew accustomed to the mountain's silent presence, until one day the lights appeared. At first they were nothing more than whispers, a strange glow seen by travelers passing through the mountain roads. Some would describe the lights as soft orbs, drifting across the hillsides in the dark, glowing faintly like will-o'-the-wisps. Others claimed the lights flickered and danced, their colors shifting from pale blue to orange and even red, but no one could say for sure what caused them. Over the years, the lights began to capture the imagination of the people who lived in the region. Some thought they were the ghosts of lost lovers, trapped in the mountains forever. Others believed the lights were the work of mischievous spirits, playing tricks on the living, and some even thought the lights were the result of strange atmospheric conditions, perhaps reflections from distant car headlights or trains bending through the valley at night. Or as the years passed, scientists and researchers came to the area, hoping to uncover the truth behind the lights. They tested the air, examined the geology, and studied the skies. Some suggested that the lights were the result of swamp gas rising from the marshes and reflecting off the mountains. Others believed that the lights were caused by a natural phenomenon, such as the unique atmospheric conditions that could create optical illusions. But even with all the theories and explanations, the Brown Mountain lights remain a mystery. Some people still visit the mountain, standing quietly in the dark, hoping to see the lights appear once again. But for many, the mystery is just as beautiful as the lights themselves, something to ponder quietly as the night stretches on. And so, the lights of Brown Mountain continue to flicker, almost as if they are waiting for the right moment to reveal their secret. For now, though, they remain hidden in the dark like so many other mysteries of these quiet hills. Farther along the range, another story waits. Let's pause for a moment if you feel your thoughts drifting away. That's all right. We'll gently move on to another quiet corner of the Appalachian Mountains, a place where time has stopped for a while, Let's travel to Elkmont, Tennessee. Nestled in the Smoky Mountains, Elkmont was once a lively vacation spot, a place where families would come to escape the heat of summer. The resort, with its grand wooden cabins and soft hills surrounding it, stood in stark contrast to the rugged beauty of the mountains. But now, the resort is quiet. The cabins are empty, their porches overgrown with moss, their windows dusty from years of abandonment. The air here is filled with the soft rustling of leaves, the occasional creak of an old door, and the distant sound of a bird calling into the evening. The town is slowly returning to nature, its forgotten buildings now quietly fading into the forest. Once Elkmont was a vibrant place filled with people who would gather in the summer to enjoy the cool mountain air. It was a resort for the wealthy, a retreat from the bustling cities below. But over time people moved away. The cabins were abandoned, and the town began to wither, just like the leaves that fell around it every autumn. The trees slowly overtook the buildings, and what was once a lively place became a forgotten relic of the past. There are no more tourists here, no more laughter or footsteps on the wooden floors. The mystery of Elkmont is not one of ghosts or eerie happenings, but of the slow passage of time. Why did the people leave? Why did this once thriving place fade into silence? There are no clear answers. Some say it was the construction of the national park that caused the town's decline, while others suggest that the resort was simply no longer profitable. But what remains is a quiet, empty town, its cabins slowly sinking into the earth, its porches blanketed in moss, and the forest slowly reclaiming what was once its own. There may be no supernatural explanation here, but there's still a certain beauty in the mystery of Elkmont. It's a reminder of how time can soften the edges of even the most bustling places. The town was abandoned, not in a moment of panic or fear, but in the quiet march of time itself. Perhaps it's the natural course of things, that things are built and then left behind. The cabins still stand as silent witnesses to a time long past, their wooden beams creaking in the wind. And so Elkmont stands quietly, its secrets slowly fading into the surrounding trees. The forest is reclaiming its space, but the memories of what once was linger on, hidden in the whispers of the leaves. Let's journey further now, to another corner of the Appalachian Mountains, where another story waits quietly to be told. If your thoughts are wandering, that's perfectly fine. Let them drift like the quiet breeze that moves through the trees. We'll gently step into another story, this time to a place where strange sounds echo in the night, where whispers are carried on the wind. This is the tale of the Bell Witch. In the rolling hills of Tennessee, the land is soft, with grassy meadows that stretch out under a sky so wide you can see the evening sun sinking behind the distant hills. The air here smells of earth and fresh dew, and when night falls, the world seems to hush, as if holding its breath. It was in this stillness, over 200 years ago, that a family lived quietly in a small log cabin nestled among the trees. The Bells, as they were known, were a simple farming family. They spent their days working the land, taking care of their animals, and watching the seasons change as they always had. But something strange began to happen, and it started so gently that it might have been easy to overlook. The Bells had settled into this land many years before, making a home for themselves in the forested hills of Adams, Tennessee. They worked the fields, raised their children, and lived a life that was as simple as it was peaceful. The cabin, built from sturdy logs, stood against the backdrop of the dense woods, its porch lined with chairs that swayed gently in the breeze. Inside, the fire crackled in the hearth and the sounds of daily life echoed through the walls. But it wasn't long before the Bells began to hear something strange. It started softly, almost imperceptibly. At first it was just a whispering sound, something that seemed to come from the walls of the cabin itself. Then there were knocks, gentle at first, like someone tapping on the door, though no one was there. Soon the knocks grew louder, and the whispers became voices echoing through the stillness of the night. The family tried to make sense of it. Was it the wind, a creaking floorboard? But as time went on, the disturbances grew more persistent. They began to hear footsteps in the hallways, strange sounds of things moving in the night, and sometimes a voice that called their name. No one could explain it. The Bells were left with questions and fear. The neighbors heard stories too, tales of eerie lights, strange sounds, and a feeling that the land was haunted. And so the Bell Witch was born, a legend that would be passed down through generations, though no one could explain the strange happenings that had plagued the family. Over time, many have tried to explain the events that took place in the Bell family's cabin. Some say the disturbances were the result of a troubled spirit, a ghost seeking vengeance for some long-forgotten wrong. Others suggest that the strange happenings might have been the result of psychological stress, or even the imagination of the family, fueled by fear and isolation. Some people believe the phenomena could have been caused by natural sounds or environmental factors, perhaps the house settling, or the winds in the trees creating strange noises. And yet, despite all the theories and explanations, the Bell Witch remains one of Appalachia's most enduring mysteries. So the Bell Witch's whispers continue to echo through the trees, fading quietly into the night. Though we may never know the true cause of the disturbances, the legend endures, as so many stories do in these hills, softly passed from one generation to the next. Let us now move further along, where another mystery lies waiting to be discovered. We've wandered through the story of the Bell Witch, and now we find ourselves in a different kind of silence. This next story isn't one of strange occurrences, but of quiet change. It's the story of the fading coal towns in Virginia and West Virginia, places where time has slowed and the land has been left to reclaim what once was. The coal towns of Appalachia were once filled with life, smoke rising from chimneys, the clang of tools in the mines, the rhythmic churning of the coal cars on the railways. But now, many of these towns sit empty, their streets quiet, their buildings falling into disrepair. The sun casts long shadows on the main streets where old signs now hang crooked and fading, and the remnants of railroads stretch into the distance, rusting quietly. The mountains themselves are still here, towering over the empty towns, their peaks shrouded in mist, their forests thick with trees. But the bustle of life that once filled these places has long since gone, and now only silence remains. In the early years of the 20th century, the coal towns of Appalachia were thriving centers of industry. People came from all over to work the mines, to build the railroads, to dig the coal that powered the cities below. The towns were small but bustling, children playing in the streets, families gathering on porches in the evening, and the sounds of daily life echoing against the mountain sides. But as time went on, things began to change. The coal became harder to reach, the mines grew deeper, and the work became more dangerous. Eventually, many of the coal companies began to move out, and the people who had built these towns were forced to leave in search of work elsewhere. What remained were the empty buildings, the faded streets, and the quiet hum of the wind as it moved through the abandoned homes. Taya says to Misang, there isn't much mystery here in the traditional sense, but there is something quietly haunting about these empty towns. What happened to the people who lived here? Where did they go? Some towns were abandoned overnight, with families leaving everything behind: furniture, clothing, even the simple comforts of home. Others lingered for years, slowly dying as the coal industry shifted, until nothing remained but the memory of what had once been. The mystery of these fading towns is in many ways an economic one. The collapse of the coal industry, along with the shifting tides of industry and technology, led to the slow death of these communities. The jobs disappeared, the people moved on, and the towns were left to fade into the earth, like so many other forgotten places. But even as the buildings crumble, the memories of these towns remain. In the quiet of the mountains, the echoes of a once thriving industry still linger in the air, as soft as the rustle of the leaves on the wind. As the last remnants of the coal towns disappear into the landscape, the mountains keep their quiet secrets. We may never know the full story of what happened, but perhaps it's enough to simply remember. Let's move now to another place where the quiet stillness of the night holds yet another mystery waiting to be revealed. This now we find ourselves in West Virginia, where another mystery waits for us, one that has captured the imagination of many. This is the tale of Mothman, a creature that first appeared on the edge of a small town in the 1960s, its shape flickering in the darkness, its wings stretching high into the sky. But as we explore this story, remember, we won't rush to conclusions. We'll simply watch, like those who first saw the creature, and let the mystery unfold at its own pace. The town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, sits quietly along the Ohio River. The air here is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and water, and the sound of the river flowing gently past the town is always present in the background. The town itself is small, peaceful even, its streets lined with modest homes, some with gardens, others with porches where people sit in the evening to watch the sun dip below the horizon. But in the 1960s, something strange began to happen. Late at night, people started seeing a figure in the darkness, standing on the edges of the town, near the old silver bridge. Some said it was a man, tall and dark, with wings spread wide like some great bird. Others said it was something far more unnatural, a creature with glowing red eyes, that its shape flickering in and out of the shadows. Before the sightings of Mothman, Point Pleasant was like any other small town. Families lived their lives here, working at local businesses, farming, and enjoying the quiet rhythms of small town life. But when Mothman appeared, it was like the town itself became the center of an eerie mystery. No one knew what to think, but the sightings became more frequent, and the stories grew. Some said it was a sign, a warning of something to come. Others simply called it a strange and frightening figure, a creature of the night that was never quite explained. Mothman's appearances were brief, fleeting. People would see it from a distance, its glowing eyes locked on them before it disappeared into the night. Some thought it was a large bird, perhaps an owl or a heron, misidentified in the dim light. Others believed it was a supernatural creature, a harbinger of doom, appearing before the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1967. But despite all the theories and stories, no one could say for certain what the creature was. It remains one of the most famous and most mysterious legends of the Appalachian Mountains. Over the years, many have tried to explain Mothman's sightings. Some believe it was a large bird, perhaps an owl or a sandhill crane, whose eyes could appear red in certain lighting. Others suggest it might have been a case of mass hysteria, with people seeing the same figure out of fear or suggestion. But even with all these explanations, Mothman remains an enigma. Perhaps, in the end, it is the mystery itself that keeps people coming back to the story, or wanting to know what really happened, even when the answers remain out of reach. Ma Kisa And so, Mothman's shadow lingers, like so many other mysteries in the mountains, fading into the quiet of the night. As we move on, we find ourselves drawn deeper into the quiet secrets of these hills, where yet another story awaits us. Guys, if your thoughts are still wandering, that's perfectly alright. You're doing just fine. Now let's ease into another story, a story of towns that are no longer visible, hidden beneath the surface of still waters. This is a tale of forgotten places, submerged beneath lakes formed by dams, where whole communities once lived, worked and thrived, only to be slowly erased, submerged beneath the water's surface. In many places across the Appalachian Mountains, the sound of rushing water is constant. Rivers that twist through the valleys, carving out deep gorges and wide plains. But in some of these valleys, the water's sound is not that of a river, but that of a lake, calm, still, and silent, covering the land that once lay beneath it. In these quiet lakes, entire towns rest beneath the surface, their buildings, roads, and homes hidden from view, waiting silently in the depths. These lakes were created by dams, built to provide water and power, but in the process, entire communities were relocated, their homes submerged, their streets erased. Before the dams were built, these towns were bustling places filled with people who lived simple, peaceful lives in the valleys. They had farms, schools, churches, and homes, with families gathering on porches in the evenings and children playing in the streets. It was a place where the rhythm of life was dictated by the seasons and the steady flow of the river. But when the need for water and power grew, the land was sacrificed for the greater good. The towns were relocated and homes were sold or abandoned. Some people left with heavy hearts, knowing they would never see their homes again. And then the dams were constructed, the rivers were flooded, and the valleys were filled with water. Now the land that once held these towns lies beneath the calm waters, as if the mountains themselves are keeping their memories buried deep below. The mystery of these towns is not one of ghosts or strange occurrences, but one of quiet reflection. What remains of these lost communities? Are their streets still there, hidden beneath the water? Do the houses still stand, the windows dark and empty, waiting for someone to remember them? Some people believe that on calm nights, when the moonlight reflects off the surface of the water, you can still hear the faint echo of voices, the whispers of lives that once were. For those who visit the lakes, there's always a sense of something lost, a feeling that the past is still there, waiting just beneath the surface. In some cases, the remnants of old buildings can still be seen when the water level is low, revealing the ghostly outlines of roads and foundations. But for the most part, the towns remain hidden, their stories buried beneath the water's surface, leaving behind only memories and mysteries. The mystery of these submerged towns is largely one of time and human need. The dams were built for practical reasons: to generate power, to provide water for growing cities, and to control the flow of rivers. But in the process, entire communities were displaced. The people who once lived in these towns moved to new homes, often far from the land they had once called their own. Some towns were deliberately cleared, while others simply faded away as the water levels rose. But even with all the explanations, there is something undeniably haunting about these lost places. The water is calm and still, but the memories of those towns linger beneath the surface like a quiet secret that the mountains keep. And so the towns rest quietly beneath the water, their streets and homes lost to time but not to memory. Like so many other mysteries, they remain hidden from view, quietly preserved beneath the surface. Let's drift now to another forgotten place, where the echoes of the past still linger, waiting to be heard by those who know where to listen. Now we'll turn our attention to something that was once a vital part of the Appalachian landscape but has now faded into obscurity: the lost railroads and vanishing tracks. These tracks once crisscrossed the mountains, connecting towns and carrying people and goods over vast distances. But now many of these railroads are no more. The tracks are rusted, the tunnels are empty, and the sound of the trains has faded into silence. The railroads of Appalachia were once the lifeblood of the region, stretching across the mountains and valleys like veins, carrying life through the land. The sound of trains chugging along the tracks was a constant presence, echoing through the hills and valleys day and night. But as time passed, the railroads were abandoned. The once bustling stations stood empty, the platforms left to rot, and the tracks slowly began to rust and disappear beneath layers of dirt and foliage. Now, many of these old railroads are nothing more than memories, their paths overgrown with trees and vines, their tunnels and bridges forgotten. Before the railroads faded into memory, they were a vital part of everyday life in the mountains. The trains brought people to the region, connected towns, and carried coal, timber, and other goods from the mountain towns to the cities below. The sound of the train whistle was a familiar one, heard from dawn to dusk, as the trains made their way through the winding mountain passes. The towns were built around the railroads, and life revolved around the schedules of the trains. But as the world changed, so did the need for railroads. Trucks and highways replaced the need for trains, and many of the tracks were abandoned. The trains stopped coming, and the railroads slowly faded away, leaving only the rusting tracks behind. The mystery here is not one of ghosts or strange lights, but of what remains after something so important has been forgotten. Where did the trains go? What happened to the people who worked on the railroads? The engineers, the conductors, the station masters. The old stations are now just empty buildings, their windows boarded up, their walls peeling. The tracks that once stretched across the mountains are now hidden under a blanket of leaves. The sound of the train whistle nothing more than a distant memory. But when you walk along the old tracks, you can still feel the weight of the past. There is something haunting about the sight of these forgotten railroads, their paths lost to time, their history slipping quietly into the dark. Some say that if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint sound of a train passing by, the echo of a time long gone. The reason these railroads disappeared is simple. They were no longer needed. As automobiles and trucks took over the transportation of goods, the trains became obsolete. The rise of highways, better roads, and more efficient transportation systems made the railroads less and less important until they were eventually abandoned. But even as the trains stopped running, the memories of the railroads remained. The tracks may be gone, but the paths they once carved through the land are still there, waiting to be rediscovered. And so the railroads rest in peace, their tracks slowly disappearing into the earth. The trains have stopped, but the memories of those journeys still linger in the quiet hills. Now, let's move to another place, where strange happenings still echo through the woods. Now we come to a creature that has captured the imagination of many, the Flatwoods Monster. This mysterious figure, first spotted in 1952, has become an iconic part of West Virginia's folklore. But as with so many other mysteries, the creature's true nature remains unclear. leaving behind only questions and stories. Flatwood, West Virginia, is a quiet, sleepy town nestled in the hills of the Appalachian Mountains. The land here is thick with trees and the air is cool and fresh, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. On the night of September 12, 1952, something strange happened. A group of young boys, along with an adult woman, were walking through the woods near the town when they saw a bright light in the sky, streaking across the darkened sky like a falling star. Curious, they ventured closer to the source of the light and found themselves standing in the clearing, staring at something they could not understand. Flatwoods was a small town, known for its quiet life and its people who worked the land. The night of the sighting was no different than any other, until the flash of light caught their attention. What followed was an event that would change the town forever. The group that saw the creature described it as tall and humanoid, with a large, rounded head and glowing eyes. Its body was covered in a strange metallic-looking suit, and its arms were outstretched, as though reaching for something. The creature stood in the clearing, its eerie presence lingering for just a moment before it disappeared into the woods, leaving the witnesses stunned and confused. To this day, no one knows exactly what the people of Flatwood saw that night. Some believe it was a creature from another world, perhaps an extraterrestrial being. Others suggest that it was a misidentified owl, or perhaps a meteorological phenomenon that caused the strange lights and appearance. But the mystery remains unsolved, and the Flatwoods monster continues to haunt the hills of West Virginia, its image forever etched in the folklore of the region. There are many explanations for the sighting, but none that have been definitively proven. Some believe it was an owl, its eyes glowing in the night, while others suggest it was a weather balloon or a falling satellite. Perhaps the creature was simply the result of mass hysteria, with everyone seeing the same thing in their imagination. But no matter the theory, the Flatwoods monster remains a part of West Virginia's strange and quiet history, its mystery lingering in the trees. And so, the creature of Flatwoods remains hidden in the shadows of the woods, its true nature still unknown. The mystery persists, quietly fading into the night, just as so many other secrets of the mountains do. Let's move now to a place where strange readings on a compass have puzzled hikers and scientists alike. Let's pause for a moment, feeling the steady rhythm of our breath, calm and easy. Now we're going to move on to another quiet mystery that doesn't involve creatures or strange lights, but rather something far more subtle, an anomaly in nature, one that has puzzled many. This is the story of strange magnetic and compass anomalies in the Appalachian Mountains, where compasses refuse to behave, and the Earth's magnetic field seems to shift and bend in ways that can't quite be explained. Imagine standing at the edge of a mountain, the cool breeze brushing against your face as you gaze down into the valley below. The trees stretch out in all directions, their leaves whispering softly in the wind, and the distant peaks rise majestically in the fading light of the day. It's a peaceful scene, calm and serene. But when you pull out your compass, something strange happens. The needle wavers, spinning erratically, as if it cannot find its way. You try again, but it continues to shift and swing, refusing to settle in any direction. What's going on? For centuries, people have relied on compasses to navigate the terrain of the mountains. The Appalachian Range, stretching across multiple states, has long been a place where explorers, settlers, and travelers ventured to discover new lands and chart new routes through the thick forests, down the winding rivers, and across the peaks. Compasses were indispensable tools that helped people find their way in the wilderness. But in certain areas, these compasses, reliable tools for navigation, began to malfunction. The needle would no longer point north. Instead, it would spin aimlessly, making it impossible to get a clear reading. Some believed it was just faulty equipment or a trick of the light. But as more people experienced the same thing, the mystery deepened. What causes these strange magnetic anomalies? Some have suggested that it's simply the result of unusual geological formations like pockets of metal deep beneath the Earth's surface. Others believe it's related to the natural shifts in the Earth's magnetic field, a phenomenon that is not well understood. Perhaps there are other forces at play, something hidden beneath the surface of the earth, unseen and mysterious. But whatever the cause, the effect is the same. Travelers and hikers find themselves unable to trust their compasses, lost in a land that should, by all rights, be easy to navigate. The mystery remains unresolved, and in the silence of the mountains, it continues to puzzle those who venture into the deep woods. Some scientists believe that the magnetic anomalies could be caused by large deposits of minerals, like iron, found deep within the Appalachian Mountains. These deposits might interfere with the natural magnetic field, causing compasses to malfunction. Other theories suggest that the Earth's magnetic field could be shifting in this region, causing disturbances in the compass readings. While there is no definitive answer, the most likely explanation is a combination of natural geological forces that are still not fully understood. The mountains, like so many mysteries in Appalachia, hold their secrets close, hiding the answers just beneath the surface, waiting for someone to uncover them. And so the compass anomalies remain one of the quiet, unexplained mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. As you continue your journey through these hills, you may find your compass spinning, but perhaps that's just another reminder that some things are meant to remain hidden. Let's move now to another story, one of strange disappearances that still echoes through the mountains. Ta We've come to our final mystery, one that is both haunting and sad, yet not without its own quiet sense of peace. This is the story of a disappearance, a person who vanished in the vastness of the Appalachian Mountains, leaving behind only questions and an unanswered search. But in this story we'll focus not on the fear or the unknown, but on the slow passage of time and the quiet acceptance that comes with it. The Appalachian Mountains are vast, stretching across a range of landscapes, from dense forests to high wind-swept ridges. Hikers and travelers who venture into these mountains often find themselves lost in the beauty of the land, the peacefulness of the woods, and the quiet stillness that envelops everything. But sometimes even the most seasoned travelers can lose their way. This is what happened to a person who ventured into the mountains years ago, alone and seeking solace, only to never return. The air is still here, the sky open above, and the path ahead remains untrodden. It's easy to lose yourself in this wilderness, to feel the pull of the land and sometimes to become part of it. The person who disappeared was an experienced hiker, someone who had spent years exploring the mountains and knew the land well. They had walked the paths before, enjoyed the quiet solitude that only these mountains can provide, and had always felt a sense of peace in the wild, but one day they went on a hike that would prove to be their last. They left their home early in the morning as the mist rose from the valleys and headed toward a trail they knew well, but as the day wore on they didn't return. The sun set and the search began, but despite the efforts of many, no trace of the hiker was ever found. The disappearance is a mystery in the truest sense of the word, an unsolved puzzle with no clues, no signs, and no answers. The searchers scoured the land, retraced the steps, and even brought in search dogs, but there was no trace of the person. It was as if they had simply vanished, swallowed up by the mountains themselves. Was it a natural accident? Did they become lost in the dense woods and succumb to the elements? Or did something else happen, something far more mysterious? No one knows. The disappearance remains one of those unanswered questions that the mountains hold close. But as with all mysteries, there is a quiet acceptance that not all questions will ever be answered. There are many theories surrounding the disappearance, but no answers that can definitively explain what happened. Some say it was simply an unfortunate accident, a misstep on the trail, a wrong turn, and then a tragic fall. Others suggest that the person became disoriented in the dense woods, unable to find their way back. Perhaps the harsh weather that day played a role, or perhaps the hikers simply lost their way in the vastness of the land. But in the end, the truth remains a quiet and unresolved mystery, one that the mountains keep to themselves. And so the hiker remains lost in the vastness of the mountains, their story fading into the quiet echoes of time. Like many mysteries, this one is not meant to be solved, but to be quietly accepted. We leave the hiker's story behind, knowing that some things, like the mountains themselves, are simply too vast to understand fully. As the night deepens, we take a moment to reflect on the mysteries we've traveled through together. The strange lights of Brown Mountain, the quiet decay of Elkmont, the whispers of the Bell Witch, the forgotten coal towns, and the shadowy figure of Mothman. Each of these stories is a part of the Appalachian landscape, a place where the past and present merge and the mysteries linger like the fading echoes of a song. The towns beneath the lakes, the lost railroads, the magnetic anomalies, and the strange disappearance, all of these quiet stories remain hidden just beneath the surface of the mountains. Some are still waiting to be understood, while others may remain lost to time. But in the stillness of the night, they all share one thing in common. They are part of the great, slow, and quiet beauty of the Appalachian Mountains. Now, as you rest, let the mountains hold their secrets. Like many things in this world, some mysteries are meant to be left unsolved. Let the night grow deeper around you, and let the stories of the mountains fade into the quiet shadows. If your eyes have started to close, that's okay. Let sleep take you gently, like the soft whispers of the wind through the trees. Thank you for joining me on this peaceful journey. I hope the mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains stay with you quietly in your mind as you drift into a restful sleep. Good night, and may your dreams be as calm and quiet as the hills that stand, timeless and still in the heart of Appalachia. As we settle deeper into our journey tonight, we're going to explore another quiet phenomenon, a magnetic anomaly so subtle yet so puzzling. Imagine standing atop one of the Appalachian ridges, looking out over the endless stretch of trees and hills, the world silent beneath the stars. You pull out your compass, expecting it to point you north as it always has. But this time something is different. The needle shifts, sways, and doesn't find its true direction. It's as if the very earth beneath your feet is shifting too. This quiet mystery arises in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, where the land stretches in all directions. The Appalachian region is known for its ancient geological formations, vast forests, and winding rivers. It's the kind of place where time seems to stand still. The air is crisp and fresh, the kind of air that fills your lungs and makes you feel alive. But beneath the surface, there's an unexplained magnetic anomaly, one that affects compasses, leaving their needles spinning wildly, confused by an invisible force. People who have traveled through these mountains have noticed it, the strange behavior of their compasses as they walk along the winding trails. At times the needle points north, but only for a moment before swinging erratically in different directions. In some places the compass won't work at all, as if the very magnetic field of the earth is disrupted. Some hikers have even reported a feeling of unease, as if they've entered a place where the normal rules of navigation no longer apply. The Appalachian Mountains have been home to many, from ancient indigenous tribes to settlers who arrived centuries later. These mountains, some of the oldest in the world, have witnessed the passing of time in their own quiet way. They've seen the growth of towns, the building of railroads, and the countless stories of travelers who've passed through their valleys and ridges. And yet, even with all this history, there's still something about the land that remains unknown, something just out of reach. In the early days, travelers would rely on compasses to guide them through the dense woods and up the steep mountain paths. The needle of the compass would point them in the right direction, showing the way forward. But now in certain areas of these mountains, that compass doesn't behave the way it should. It's a quiet mystery that's lingered for decades, an anomaly that has yet to be fully explained. The strange behavior of the compass needles is not the only anomaly here. In some areas, the anomaly is accompanied by a sense of disorientation, where hikers find themselves lost despite following a familiar path. It's as if the very landscape is playing tricks on the mind, making one question the direction they are walking. Some believe the phenomenon is connected to the mountain's unique geology, perhaps due to large deposits of iron or other magnetic minerals buried deep in the earth. Others suggest that it could be a natural magnetic disturbance, a rare shift in the Earth's magnetic field, but for now the cause remains a mystery. Despite all the theories, no one can say for certain what causes these strange compass anomalies. They remain one of the quiet, unanswerable puzzles of the Appalachian Mountains, adding to the mystique of these ancient hills. In terms of explanations, scientists have long speculated about the causes of these anomalies. One theory is that certain regions in the Appalachian Mountains contain high concentrations of magnetic minerals such as iron ore or magnetite that interfere with the Earth's magnetic field. These minerals can distort the compass's needle, causing it to spin erratically or point in strange directions. Another theory involves the natural magnetic field of the Earth itself, which is not constant but fluctuates over time. Some researchers believe that these fluctuations could be responsible for the anomalies, causing compasses to behave unpredictably in certain areas. No matter the explanation, the anomaly remains a quiet mystery with no concrete answers. The mountains, in their ancient stillness, continue to hold their secrets, leaving us to wonder and ponder the forces that shape the land beneath our feet. And so the magnetic anomaly remains unsolved, a quiet mystery that lingers in the shadows of the Appalachian Mountains. As you walk through these ancient hills, your compass may spin, your sense of direction may shift, but the mountain itself will remain steadfast and still, holding its secrets close. Let us continue on to another part of these mountains, where yet another mystery awaits. Our final mystery takes us to the quiet and haunting story of a disappearance in the vastness of the Appalachian Mountains. Unlike the other mysteries, this one is not filled with strange creatures or unexplained phenomena, but rather a simple, heartbreaking mystery of a person who vanished, leaving behind only questions. We'll move through this story slowly, as it's not one of fear, but of quiet reflection in the passage of time. The Appalachian Mountains are vast, stretching for miles in every direction. In the shadows of the peaks, where the trees grow thick and the underbrush is dense, it's easy to become lost. Even the most experienced hikers can find themselves disoriented by the wilderness, the paths winding and twisting in unexpected directions. But for one hiker, this vastness became their final resting place. It was on one of the many trails that wind through the Appalachian ranges that this person disappeared. The air was cool, the sky a soft blue above, and the ground beneath their feet was thick with fallen leaves and soft earth. They had walked the trail before, familiar with the path and the landmarks, but on this day they did not return. Their disappearance would remain a mystery, with no sign of what happened, no answers to the questions that arose. The mountains were silent witnesses to this disappearance, holding the secrets of what had occurred but offering no answers to those who sought them. Before the disappearance, this person was a seasoned hiker, someone who had spent years exploring the Appalachian landscape. They were no stranger to the mountains, having hiked through their dense forests and across their winding ridgelines many times before. On the day of their disappearance, they set out on a familiar trail, planning a short hike to enjoy the quiet of the woods. But as the day wore on, they did not return. Their family, friends, and fellow hikers searched the area, retracing the steps they thought the hiker had taken. But despite their best efforts, there was no trace of the person. No footprints, no belongings, no sign of where they had gone. It was as if the mountains had swallowed them whole, leaving no trace behind. What happened to this person remains one of the quietest and most unsettling mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. Some say they may have gotten lost in the dense woods, disoriented by the twists and turns of the trail. Others suggest that they may have encountered an accident, perhaps slipping and falling in the rough terrain, unable to call for help. But no one knows for sure. There are no answers, only questions, and the unanswered mystery of their fate lingers in the stillness of the mountains. As with many disappearances, the theories are varied. Some believe that the hiker simply became lost in the vastness of the land, wandering off the trail and unable to find their way back. Others suggest that the person may have suffered an accident, falling and injuring themselves in the rugged terrain. It's also possible that they encountered some other natural hazard, perhaps an animal or a sudden change in weather that led to their disappearance. But even with all these explanations, no one can say with certainty what happened. The mystery of their disappearance remains unsolved. And perhaps that's part of the story. The mountains themselves, in their quiet majesty, keeping the answer hidden from view. And so the hiker remains lost in the mountains, their story fading into the silence of the land. The mountains have kept their secret, offering no answers, no conclusions. And as we move on, we remember that some mysteries are simply too vast to understand fully, too quiet to be solved. As the night settles around us, we've explored many stories, each one unique and haunting in its own way. The mysterious lights of Brown Mountain, the empty cabins of Elkmont, the strange whispers of the Bell Witch, and the quiet decay of the coal towns. Each tale has added to the mystery of these Appalachian hills. The vanishing railroads, the magnetic anomalies, and the disappearance of the hiker. All these stories blend together, creating a tapestry of unanswered questions and quiet, lingering mysteries. But as the night deepens and your eyes grow heavier, let's remember that some of these mysteries, like so many things in life, are not meant to be solved. They are simply part of the landscape, a part of the mountain's deep and silent history, waiting for those who are willing to listen. And now, as the quiet of the night surrounds you, let yourself drift into sleep, knowing that the answers to these mysteries can remain hidden, just like the mountains themselves. For now, You don't have to solve anything, just let the night grow deeper, the stories fade, and the mountains keep their quiet secrets. As we move forward on our journey tonight, we find ourselves slowing down once again. This next mystery is one of quiet roads and forgotten paths. It's not a story of spooky sounds or eerie lights, but of hidden ways that have long been abandoned, faded into history and silence. The mountain passes that once led travelers through these hills now sit empty, their once worn tracks now softened by time and nature. The Appalachian Mountains, as old as time itself, hold within them many forgotten paths. Some of these roads were carved by ancient people, their purpose long lost. Others were built during the height of the logging and mining days, when people needed to move through the land quickly, carrying supplies to and from the growing towns. Today, these roads are little more than shadows of their former selves. The gravel has worn away, replaced by the soft touch of moss and roots creeping through the cracks. The trees that once framed the roads now stand taller, their branches intertwining above, creating a canopy that blocks out the sun and casts the roads below in quiet shade. These lost roads are a reminder of the passing of time and of how the land has quietly reclaimed what was once built upon it. The winding paths that once carried the footsteps of many now only echo the soft sound of wind through the leaves. In the early years, these passes were lifelines for the towns that dotted the Appalachian landscape. The roads allowed goods to flow in and out of the region, lumber, coal, and produce, keeping the towns connected to the rest of the world. Carriages, trains, and later cars all made their way through these mountain roads, leaving behind traces of their passage. Communities were built along these roads, each one relying on the movement of people and goods to survive and thrive. But as industries shifted and the demand for such remote routes decreased, these roads were abandoned, forgotten in the quiet solitude of the mountains. The old roads are still there, though, hiding just beneath the overgrowth, their purpose now lost to time. To walk along one of these forgotten trails is to step into a place where the rhythm of the world has slowed, where the hustle and bustle of modern life is but a distant memory. What remains of these roads now are only memories, etched into the landscape like an old photograph. In some places you can still see the faint outline of the path, winding its way through the trees, though the earth has long since begun to swallow it whole. In other areas the road has all but disappeared, hidden beneath a blanket of fallen leaves, vines, and dirt. Once proud bridges have rotted away, and now only the barest trace of their former selves remains. What happened to these roads, and why did they fade into silence? Some say the decline of the railroads and the advent of the automobile rendered the mountain passes unnecessary, and as the world moved on, the paths were left behind. Others suggest that the land itself reclaimed what had been taken from it, with time and nature slowly erasing the roads that had once been so vital. And still some wonder if these old roads still hold secrets, hidden treasures, or lost stories waiting to be uncovered. But whatever the reason, these roads, like so many mysteries in the Appalachian Mountains, remain unsolved, their past a quiet whisper carried on the wind. The disappearance of these roads can likely be traced to the changing tides of industry and technology. With the rise of newer, more efficient transportation networks, the need for these winding mountain paths diminished. Railroads and highways took over as the main routes for transporting goods, and the small local roads were left to fade away. In some cases, the roads were deliberately abandoned as communities moved away from the mountains, leaving the old paths to be reclaimed by nature. But the question remains, why do some of these paths still persist, hidden beneath layers of earth and time? Is it simply the relentless advance of nature, or is there something more at play? Perhaps some stories have been left behind in the crevices of these forgotten roads, just waiting to be uncovered by those who wander through the mountains. The mountain passes remain silent, their forgotten paths waiting beneath the trees. With every step we leave the road behind, but the memories of it linger in the wind and the whispers of the leaves. Let's move on now to another mystery that holds a secret deep in its core, hidden in the shadow of the hills. As we settle into our next story, I want you to picture yourself standing in a meadow, bathed in the gentle light of the moon. The air is cool and the sound of the night creatures fills the air. In the distance you hear the faintest sound, a soft wail, almost a whisper carried on the wind. Tonight we will hear the tale of the Appalachian banshee, a figure that, while often feared, is not quite the terrifying creature one might think. Rather, she is a symbol of grief, loss, and the quiet presence of those who have passed. In the quiet hollows of the Appalachian Mountains, there are whispers in the night, whispers that speak of a figure who roams the hills, a spectral presence that brings with her the sorrow of loss. The banshee, as she is known in folklore, is not a monster to be feared, but a spirit of mourning, a wailing figure that carries the weight of grief through the hills. The stories say that she appears in the moonlight, her voice soft and haunting, a reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. Her appearance is often seen as a warning, a sign that someone will soon pass, a loved one who will leave this world. As the wind blows through the mountains, it carries her cry, faint and distant, weaving in and out of the trees like a soft lullaby that speaks of things we cannot control. The banshee has long been a part of Appalachian folklore, a character woven into the stories and songs passed down through generations. She is a figure of sorrow, her wails echoing through the hills when death is near. The early settlers of the region brought their own traditions with them, and the banshee became a part of the local stories passed down as a way to explain the unexplainable. She was not always seen as a figure of terror, but more as a presence that signified the end of a life, her mournful cry a signal of the passing of a soul. In some stories, the banshee would wail for days before a death, while in others, her appearance would come suddenly like a whisper in the night, signaling that it was time to say goodbye. As With many aspects of folklore, the truth of the banshee's presence remains a mystery. Was she simply a figment of the imagination created to explain the sorrow that comes with the loss of a loved one? Or is there some truth to the stories? Was there truly a spectral figure wandering the hills, her voice carrying on the wind? No one knows for certain. What remains, though, is the quiet presence of the banshee in the stories of the Appalachian Mountains, a reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. Some believe that the banshee's wail is nothing more than the sound of the wind shifting through the trees and carrying a mournful sound. Others suggest that the cries could have been the result of animals in the woods, perhaps owls or other nocturnal creatures whose calls were mistaken for the wail of a spirit. It's also possible that the wail was a cultural explanation for the emotional experience of grief, a way to personify the sorrow that so many felt when they lost someone dear. Perhaps the banshee, like many figures in folklore, it was simply a way to make sense of death, something that is as natural as the passing of the seasons but is always hard to accept. And so the banshee's cry fades into the wind, carried off into the distance, her wail becoming part of the quiet night. Whether she exists or is merely a creation of folklore, her presence lingers in the air, reminding us of the inevitability of loss and the comfort of knowing that grief, too, is part of life's journey. Let's now move on to another story, one that may seem just as mysterious, but this time it's one of strange creatures. If you find your thoughts drifting softly, that's perfectly fine. Take a deep breath and let the quiet rhythm of the evening carry you deeper into the comfort of this journey. Now let's travel to a place where the fog settles heavily over the land, and strange lights appear in the distance, flickering like forgotten stars. This is the story of the ghostly lights of graveyard fields in North Carolina, a phenomenon that has puzzled travelers for generations. Graveyard Fields is a secluded area tucked away in the Blue Ridge Parkway, a stretch of the Appalachian Mountains that is as beautiful as it is mysterious. The land here is wild and untamed, with thick forests giving way to meadows filled with tall grasses and blooming wildflowers. As the evening draws near, the air becomes crisp, cool, and heavy with the scent of pine. The sun dips below the horizon and the moon rises high, casting a pale glow over the land. It is in this eerie twilight that the ghostly lights are said to appear. Some say they are will-o'-the-wisps, the glowing spirits of the dead who wandered the land, guiding the lost or leading them astray. Others believe the lights are the result of natural phenomena, perhaps the reflection of car headlights from distant roads or the flicker of distant campfires. Still, others claim the lights are a remnant of the past, a haunting reminder of lives lost long ago. Before the ghostly lights began to appear, Graveyard Fields was a place known only to the locals, settlers and farmers who called the surrounding area home. The field itself was named for the many old cemeteries scattered throughout the area, reminders of the past generations who had lived and passed in this rugged, beautiful part of the world. The fields were once used for farming, and some of the old stone walls still stand today, weathered and worn by time. Over the years, as the land was left to rest, the fields grew wild again, becoming a serene and peaceful place, though one still steeped in quiet history. But then the lights began to appear. It started with travelers who passed through the area at night, reporting strange glowing orbs flickering in the distance, drifting among the trees and across the meadows. As word spread, more people began to venture to graveyard fields, hoping to witness the mysterious lights for themselves. Non si one can say for certain what causes these mysterious lights. Some believe they are supernatural, a manifestation of the restless spirits of those buried in the many old cemeteries scattered throughout the field. Others suggest that they are a natural phenomenon, perhaps a reflection of the moonlight or some rare atmospheric event that causes the air to shimmer in ways that create the illusion of lights. But even after all these years, the ghostly lights remain one of the many unsolved mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. They flicker in the distance, never staying long enough to be fully understood, always vanishing before they can be explained. Some travelers believe that the lights are a warning, a reminder that there are things in this world that can never be fully understood. Others see them as a beautiful, if fleeting, part of the landscape, a reminder that not all things in this world are meant to be explained. Over the years, many theories have been proposed to explain the lights of graveyard fields. One common explanation is the swamp gas theory, which suggests that the lights are the result of methane gas rising from decaying organic matter in the ground. This gas can sometimes ignite spontaneously, creating small bursts of light that flicker and dance in the air. Another theory is that the lights are simply the result of distant headlights from cars on the winding roads nearby, reflecting off the fog or the trees in such a way that they appear to float in the distance. And of course, there are the more mystical theories, which suggest that the lights are a manifestation of the spirits of the past, wandering the land in search of something they left behind. Whatever the true cause, the mystery of the ghostly lights remains unresolved, adding another layer of wonder to the quiet hills of graveyard fields. And so the ghostly lights of graveyard fields continue to flicker in the distance, their true nature hidden from view. Perhaps one day the mystery will be solved, but for now, it remains a part of the quiet lore of the Appalachian Mountains, a story that drifts softly through the air, just like the lights themselves. Let's move on now to another place where strange events have unfolded, leaving behind a trail of questions. Let's take a gentle turn now as we move toward a quieter mystery, a tale that has been told around campfires and passed down through generations. This is the story of the vanishing hitchhiker, a legend that has traveled across the Appalachian Mountains, woven into the fabric of the region's folklore. It's a story that many have heard, but few have ever truly understood. Imagine driving down a quiet mountain road, the headlights illuminating the winding path ahead. The air is cool, and the trees on either side of the road form a tunnel, their branches reaching up to the sky. It's late in the evening and the moon is high, casting a soft glow over the road. As you round a bend, you see a figure standing by the side of the road, their thumb outstretched as if waiting for a ride. You pull over, offering a ride to a stranger, and the person climbs into the car, offering only a soft smile of gratitude. But as you drive further down the road, something strange happens. The stranger is gone. There's no one in the passenger seat. You look in the rearview mirror, but the figure has vanished without a trace. This is the tale of the vanishing hitchhiker, a legend that has been told in many forms across the Appalachian Mountains. The story is always the same. A lone traveler, typically a young woman, appears on a dark, quiet road looking for a ride. She climbs into the car, speaks briefly with the driver, and then is in the blink of an eye disappears without a trace. The driver is left confused and unsettled, unsure of what they've just experienced. The hitchhiker's story is often one of sadness, a lost soul looking for a ride home, or a tragic figure who never made it to her destination. But despite the many variations of the tale, one thing remains constant: the mystery of her disappearance. The mystery of the vanishing hitchhiker is one that has perplexed many for years. Some say that the woman is the ghost of someone who died on the road long ago, her spirit still wandering in search of a way home. Others suggest that it is simply a tale told to explain the inexplicable, the odd feeling that sometimes arises when a person vanishes without a trace, leaving behind only questions and a lingering sense of unease. The vanishing hitchhiker remains one of the most enduring legends in the region, a story that continues to be passed down, whispered around campfires and in quiet conversations. But no one can say for certain where the story began, or if there is any truth to it at all. Like many folk legends, the mystery lingers, and perhaps that is part of its beauty. There are many theories about the vanishing hitchhiker, but none that can definitively explain the phenomenon. Some believe the woman is a ghost, a spirit who haunts the roads of the Appalachian Mountains, her unfinished journey keeping her tethered to this world. Others suggest that the hitchhiker is simply a figment of the imagination, a product of overactive minds and the loneliness that can be felt when driving through these isolated mountains. There are also more practical explanations. Perhaps the hitchhiker simply exited the vehicle when the driver wasn't looking, or perhaps the driver was mistaken in what they saw. But in the end, the vanishing hitchhiker remains a mystery, a story that endures because it cannot be explained. And so, the vanishing hitchhiker drifts quietly through the mountains, her story told over and over again but never fully understood. She remains a part of the folklore of Appalachia, a reminder that sometimes the mysteries we encounter are meant to remain unsolved. Let's leave her story behind for now and journey onward to yet another quiet mystery waiting to be discovered. As we come to another soft stop in our journey, I invite you to feel the quiet all around us. This next story takes us to a place of deep sorrow, a place where the past lingers and the echoes of long-forgotten lives still resonate. It's a story that may seem simple, yet carries with it the weight of the years. This is the story of the crying child, a legend that haunts one of the many old homes scattered throughout the Appalachian Mountains. Imagine walking through the woods, the path soft beneath your feet, the trees towering above, their branches whispering in the breeze. As you walk, you come across an old abandoned house. Its windows are broken, its door ajar, and the wood of the structure has begun to rot. The house looks as though it's been untouched for years, and yet as you step closer you hear something, a soft sound, almost a wail, coming from inside the house. At first, it's faint, just a soft cry that seems to echo from within the walls. Then it grows louder, a desperate, sorrowful cry. You hesitate, unsure whether to enter, but curiosity leads you to step inside. As you stand outside the crumbling house, the sound of the crying child grows clearer, though there is no sign of anyone. The air feels heavier now, the once gentle breeze stills, and the trees seem to hold their breath as if waiting for something. This is no ordinary cry. It carries the weight of centuries of sorrow. But do not fear, for this is not a story of danger or harm. This is a quiet, soft legend from the past, one that continues to echo through the hills of Appalachia. If you find your mind wandering, let the sound of the crying child ground you in the mystery, pulling you further into the stillness of the night. Shh. The old house in question sits at the edge of the forest, its once proud structure now sagging under the weight of time. The wood is warped, the roof caving in, and the paint is peeling away in long strips. Yet despite its dilapidation, the house holds a strange beauty, its history etched into every rotting floorboard and broken window. In the stillness of the night, the wind whispers through the trees and the sounds of the past seem to resurface. It is here, in this forgotten place, that the story of the crying child lives on. The legend says that many years ago, a child was left behind in this very house, perhaps abandoned or lost to time. Though no one knows for sure, the cries of the child are said to be the echoes of that long-lost soul forever wandering the empty house. Some say that the cries are the result of deep sorrow, the child's life cut short by misfortune or tragedy. Others suggest that the child's spirit never left, bound to the house, waiting for someone to hear their cry. Long before the house was abandoned, it was once a lively home. The family who lived here had children, and their laughter echoed through the halls. Neighbors would pass by, stopping for friendly visits, and the house was filled with the warmth of everyday life. But as time passed, things began to change. The family moved away, and the house fell into neglect, left behind by those who once lived there. Over time, the house was reclaimed by nature, and the laughter and footsteps that once filled the rooms faded into memory. But one thing never left: the cry of the child. Some believe that the child was lost long before the house was abandoned, possibly a young girl who wandered into the woods and never returned. Others say that she was left behind when the family moved, locked away in a room, her cries unheard by those who left. What remains now is only the haunting sound of that lonely cry, carried through the walls of the house, echoing in the still air. Nyan, I see. The mystery of the crying child is one that has persisted for generations. Why does the child cry? What happened to her? Is she trapped in the house, her spirit unable to leave? Some say that the child's spirit is trying to communicate with those who visit seeking comfort or company. Others believe that the cry is a warning, a reminder of a life cut short, of a past that was never fully understood. No one knows for certain what keeps the child's spirit in this abandoned house, but the cries continue echoing in the still night air. The house remains crumbling slowly into the earth, but the sound of the crying child persists. It's as if the very walls of the house hold the memory of that lost soul, never letting her go. Some have suggested that the crying child is the result of a psychological phenomenon, perhaps the product of a vivid imagination or the suggestion of others. The mind, after all, is capable of creating its own ghosts, filling empty spaces with the sounds of things that are not really there. Others believe that the child's cries are connected to the natural acoustics of the house, the creaking of old timbers or the wind howling through broken windows, creating the illusion of a child crying from within. But even with these explanations, the sound persists, haunting those who enter the house and leaving behind an unsettled feeling. Perhaps the true mystery is not the child, but the power of the story itself, a story that has been passed down through generations, growing stronger with each telling. And so the cry of the child continues, fading into the night like a forgotten memory. We leave the house behind, but the echo of the cry lingers, soft and sorrowful, drifting away into the mist. As we move forward, the story of the crying child remains part of the landscape, like many others in these hills, whispered legends that can never quite be explained. Let us continue our journey to another quiet mystery where time itself has slowed. Let's take a deep breath and allow our minds to settle as we step into a new mystery. This one is not about strange creatures or ghostly figures, but about hidden places beneath the earth, tunnels that snake through the heart of the mountains. These tunnels have been around for centuries, but their true purpose remains unknown, locked away beneath layers of earth and stone. Let's explore the mystery of the hidden tunnels beneath the Appalachian Mountains. Beneath the ancient ridges and valleys of Appalachia, there lies a secret, a network of tunnels and caves that stretch deep into the earth. The mountains here are old, older than most things in this world, and their layers have been carved by water, wind, and time. Within these deep, dark spaces, something lies hidden, something that no one fully understands. Some believe the tunnels were once used by the first settlers, carved out by hand to provide shelter or to mine the rich minerals beneath the ground. Others say that these tunnels were created long before by people who came and went, leaving only whispers of their existence behind. The earth is quiet here, with only the occasional echo of water dripping from the stone walls or the faint rustle of animals making their way through the dark. In the early days of Appalachian settlement, people carved out homes and shelters wherever they could find them. They dug tunnels to mine coal, iron, and other precious minerals. Some tunnels were made for practical purposes, storage, protection, or passage to another part of the land, but over time many of these tunnels were abandoned, left to crumble and fade into the earth. The reasons for their abandonment are unclear. Some say they were no longer needed, while others suggest that something happened to drive the people away. Whatever the cause, the tunnels were forgotten, their entrances sealed off, and the knowledge of their existence faded into the mists of history. Now only rumors remain of what lies beneath the surface, stories told by those who have ventured into the tunnels, and stories whispered in quiet circles. What remains of these tunnels? What purpose did they serve, and why were they abandoned? Some say that the tunnels were used by settlers to hide from danger, or perhaps to store valuables. Others believe the tunnels may have been part of a larger, more ancient system, hidden networks of passageways that connected the mountains in ways we cannot imagine. Still others suggest that the tunnels are the remnants of something far older, something from a time before the settlers arrived. Perhaps they were built by a civilization that vanished long ago, leaving only traces of their existence behind. But no one knows for sure. The tunnels remain sealed beneath the earth, and the mysteries they hold are locked away, hidden from view. And so the mystery of the hidden tunnels continues, waiting for someone to uncover their secrets. Theories abound about the tunnels beneath the mountains. Some suggest that they were created for mining as coal and other minerals were abundant in the region. Others believe that the tunnels were used by early explorers or settlers, perhaps as a means of defense or escape. There are even theories that the tunnels were part of an underground railroad used to help enslaved people escape to freedom. But the lack of evidence and the difficulty of accessing the tunnels means that the true purpose remains unknown. Perhaps these tunnels were simply a part of the natural progression of the Appalachian people, built out of necessity, used for a time and then forgotten when the world moved on. And so the tunnels remain silent, their entrances hidden beneath the earth, their mysteries locked away. We may never know what lies inside, but perhaps it is enough to know that some stories are meant to stay buried, just like the mountains themselves. Let's move now to a final mystery, one that takes us far from the tunnels and deep into the heart of the wilderness. Oh, now let's journey to a quiet river, one that flows gently through the Appalachian Mountains. The water is clear, the current slow and steady. There is something calming about the river, its constant flow, its quiet strength. But beneath the surface, the river holds a secret, a mystery that stretches back through time. Let's listen to the story of the silent river. The river winds its way through the valley, its waters moving slowly and deliberately. The banks are lined with thick trees, their roots dipping into the water. The sound of the flowing water is soothing, the gentle lapping of the river against the shore creating a rhythm that echoes through the still air. The sky above is clear, the sun reflecting off the surface of the river, casting golden light onto the rocks and the banks. But if you look closely, you might notice something odd. the river seems to flow on forever without changing, without any sign of stopping. It moves with a quiet purpose, as though it has always been there, flowing through time itself. The river has always been a part of the land, a constant presence in the Appalachian landscape. For centuries it has provided water to the people who live along its banks, serving as a lifeline for farming, fishing, and transportation. The river has seen many changes over time, but it has never stopped flowing. It has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the passage of generations, and the quiet rhythm of life that continues to unfold along its shores. But the river holds its own mysteries, as old as the land itself. Some say the river is silent because it holds the memories of the past, stories that have been forgotten but are still carried by the water. Others suggest that the river's silence is a sign that something is hidden beneath its surface, something that has been buried by time and water. No one knows for sure what the river hides, but the mystery remains, like the gentle current that moves silently through the land. Perhaps the river itself is a reminder that not all things are meant to be known, that some mysteries are better left undisturbed, quietly flowing beneath the surface. Some believe that the river's silence is simply the result of the land itself, a natural formation that has remained unchanged for millennia. Others suggest that there is something more at play, something ancient and hidden beneath the surface. Perhaps the river holds the memories of all the people who have lived along its banks, their stories carried by the water. Or perhaps the river is simply a reflection of the mountains themselves, silent, enduring, and full of secrets. Whatever the reason, the silent river remains one of the great mysteries of Appalachia, its still waters hiding the answers we may never fully understand. And so the silent river continues to flow, its waters moving gently through the valley, carrying the weight of time with it. We leave the river behind, knowing that some mysteries are meant to stay beneath the surface, just like the land itself. Let's drift now into a final rest, knowing that the mountains, the rivers, and the forests will continue to hold their quiet stories for those who are willing to listen. As the soft winds of the night carry us deeper into the heart of Appalachia, we pause for a moment to reflect. The mountains are full of strange tales and mysterious creatures, each with its own story to tell. One such tale is that of the wampus cat, a creature said to roam the woods of West Virginia, its presence felt but rarely seen. This is a legend as old as the hills themselves, a story passed down through generations, whispering through the trees like the wind. The dense forests of West Virginia are a place where the trees grow tall and the shadows stretch long into the evening. The air here is cool and damp, the scent of pine and earth thick in the air. It is a place where time moves slowly, where the sounds of birds and insects fill the air by day, and the quiet rustle of leaves and the hoot of an owl fill the night. But beneath the stillness of these woods there is something else, a presence that many feel but few ever see. The wampus cat, as the legend goes, is a creature that moves silently through the forest, its glowing eyes shining in the darkness. Some say it is a beast, fierce and wild, while others believe it is a spirit, a manifestation of the forest's ancient energy. The story of the Wampus cat dates back to the indigenous people of the region. In their folklore, the Wampus cat was a creature that roamed the woods, stalking its prey with stealth and silence. The creature was said to be a spirit of the wild, a being connected to the deep, untamed places of the land. As the settlers arrived and began to build their communities, the tale of the Wampus cat continued to be passed down, morphing over time into the legend we know today. The creature is often described as a large feline figure, its fur dark and sleek, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. Some say it has the body of a cougar or a panther, but with the face of a woman, a transformation that occurred long ago as punishment for a betrayal. The Wampus cat, in some versions of the tale, is said to have once been a woman who angered the gods and was cursed to live forever as a half-human, half-animal creature, doomed to wander the forest in search of vengeance. Though many people claim to have seen the Wampus cat, there is no clear answer as to whether the creature is real or simply a product of folklore and imagination. Some say the creature's glowing eyes are a trick of the light, a reflection of moonlight or the glint of a lantern in the darkness. Others suggest that the creature is a misidentified wild animal, perhaps a bobcat or a large cougar, whose silhouette in the shadows gives the illusion of something far more sinister. But there are those who swear by the stories, who speak of strange howls echoing through the woods at night, and the sound of unseen footsteps moving through the leaves. The Wampus cat remains a mystery, its presence felt in the silence of the forest, but never fully understood. The Wampus cat's legend likely stems from a mixture of real creatures and imaginative storytelling. Wild animals like bobcats, cougars, and lynx are native to the region, and their large glowing eyes and stealthy movements could easily give rise to such stories. Some believe that the legend may also be a way to explain the strange sounds heard at night, howls, growls, and the rustling of leaves that people can't quite identify. Others suggest that the Wampus cat may be an embodiment of the wilderness itself, a creature representing the untamed, dangerous beauty of the Appalachian forests. Whether real or mythical, the Wampus cat remains one of the many enduring mysteries of Appalachia, a tale passed down with each generation, whispered through the trees as the night falls. And so the Wampus cat remains elusive, its legend alive in the hearts of those who live in the shadow of the mountains. Perhaps one day the creature will reveal itself, or perhaps it will remain a quiet, shadowy figure in the darkness of the forest. For now we leave its story behind, moving forward on our journey to discover another quiet mystery, hidden deep within the Appalachian landscape. Now, let's take a moment to ease deeper into the calm, like as we journey into the hills of the Smoky Mountains, where another legend lies waiting. This tale is one of treasure, of gold that was said to be hidden, lost in the heart of the mountains, waiting to be discovered. The lost gold of the Smoky Mountains has captivated the imagination of many, its story woven into the fabric of the region's history. But as with many legends of treasure, the mystery remains unsolved, with no one truly knowing where the gold lies or if it even exists at all. The Smoky Mountains are known for their misty peaks and deep valleys, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and pine. The land here is wild and rugged, a place where the mountains rise sharply, their peaks often shrouded in mist, making it difficult to see what lies ahead. Rivers snake through the valleys, and old trails wind their way through thick forests, leading to hidden caves and forgotten hollows. It is in these hidden places, among the rocks and the trees, that the legend of the lost gold is said to live on. Some say the gold was hidden by early settlers who sought to protect their wealth from thieves or marauders. Others suggest that it was lost during the Civil War, hidden away by Confederate soldiers or local farmers who feared the Union Army would take it. Whatever the true story, the gold remains elusive, its location a mystery that has driven many adventurers to seek it out, only to disappear into the wilds of the Smoky Mountains without a trace. I, in In the 1800s, the Smoky Mountains were home to a small but thriving community of settlers. They built homes, planted crops, and mined the land for the resources they needed to survive. But with the arrival of the Civil War, the region became a battleground for both Confederate and Union forces. Many families in the area were caught in the middle of the conflict, and some, fearing the loss of their wealth, decided to hide their valuables deep within the mountains. The story goes that one such family buried a large stash of gold, hidden so well that no one, not even the descendants, could remember where it was placed. As time passed, the family was lost to history, and the gold remained hidden, lost in the mountains. Over the years, many have ventured into the Smokies, seeking the treasure, but none have returned with any proof of its existence. The gold, it seems, is destined to remain hidden, a secret lost to time. Where is the gold? Does it still exist, buried deep in the mountains, or is it simply a story, a legend created to explain the unexplained? Many people have ventured into the Smoky Mountains, following old maps and stories passed down from generation to generation. Some have come close, discovering old markers or clues that seem to point to the treasure's location, but no one has ever found it. The mystery of the lost gold remains unsolved, a tantalizing story that continues to draw adventurers to the mountains, even though they may never return with the treasure. Some believe that the lost gold is just a myth, a story created to give the mountains an air of mystery and allure. Others argue that the gold was never hidden in the first place, and that the treasure was merely a rumor, a product of the war and the fear that came with it. Still, others believe that the gold is still out there, buried beneath the rocks and trees, waiting to be discovered by the right person. Perhaps it is simply waiting for the right time, or perhaps it was lost forever in the shifting landscape of the mountains. And so, the lost gold remains hidden, a secret buried beneath the earth, waiting for someone to uncover it. We leave the treasure behind for now, knowing that some mysteries are meant to stay unsolved, while others are meant to linger in the shadows. As we continue our journey, we find ourselves drawn to yet another mystery, one that has no clear beginning or end but simply exists, like the mountains themselves. And now, as we near the final leg of our journey tonight, we find ourselves in the heart of the Appalachian Highlands, a place of peace and quiet beauty. Here, the land stretches out before us with rolling hills and sweeping valleys, each one more beautiful than the last. But there is something else about this place, something that draws you in, a deep, almost haunting stillness that echoes through the mountains. Tonight we listen to the echoes of the Appalachian Highlands, a sound that has lingered for centuries. Did you see? The Appalachian Highlands are some of the oldest mountains in the world, their peaks worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. The air is cool here, thick with the scent of pine and the earthy undertones of the land. As you stand at the top of one of the many ridges, you can see for miles in every direction, the valley stretching below and the mountains rising in the distance. The sun has set and the stars begin to twinkle in the sky above, casting a soft glow over the land. And in this quiet solitude, you hear something, a soft echo, like the sound of something calling to you from the past. It's not a voice, but the feeling of one, a whisper carried on the wind, telling the story of this ancient land. For centuries, the Appalachian Highlands have been home to those who sought refuge from the rest of the world. The land here is rugged, its beauty unmatched, but its challenges equally great. Those who settled here did so because of the mountain's quiet strength, its isolation, and the sense of peace it offered. The people who came to these hills lived simple lives, farming the land, raising families, and working with what the mountains gave them. And though many of them have long since passed, their stories remain, whispered through the wind, carried through the trees, and echoed through the mountains. As we stand together in the quiet expanse of the Appalachian Highlands, the night embraces us. The land, ancient and wise, speaks not with words but with subtle echoes. These echoes are not mere sounds, they are the whispers of time itself, soft and fleeting like memories carried on the wind. If your mind begins to wander, that's okay. Let it drift with the mountain breeze, moving quietly through the stories of the past. Let's take another step into this sacred land where the echoes of the past continue to shape the present. The Appalachian Highlands are a place of deep solitude and quiet majesty, where every rock, tree, and valley carries with it the weight of history. As you walk through these mountains, the air is cool, rich with the scent of pine and earth, and the soft murmur of a stream in the distance fills the stillness. The sky above is a deep velvety blue dotted with countless stars that twinkle like distant dreams. In the silence of the night you may hear a soft sound, an echo. It seems to come from nowhere, or perhaps from everywhere. It's a gentle, haunting sound, like the mountains themselves, whispering secrets that have been passed down for centuries. The highlands, with their winding trails and hidden valleys, have been home to many over the years, and their echoes carry the stories of those who came before. The Appalachian Highlands have witnessed the rise and fall of many communities, and their stories are woven into the very fabric of this land. The first people to inhabit these mountains were the indigenous tribes who called the land home long before European settlers arrived. They understood the language of the land, its rhythms, and its cycles, and they passed down their wisdom through stories, each one marked by the land's features, its rivers, its trees, and its hills. When settlers arrived in the 18th century, they were drawn to the natural beauty of the highlands, but they also found a place of quiet, untamed wilderness. Life in these mountains was hard, but it was also a life of self-reliance. People built their homes from the wood of the land, worked the soil, and fished the streams. But even as the population grew and the landscape changed, the echoes of the mountains remained the same. They whispered of the past, of those who had come before, and of the land that had shaped them. The mystery of the Appalachian Highlands isn't about a single event or figure, but about the sense of timelessness that pervades this land. There are stories of hidden treasures buried beneath the earth, of ancient rites performed in the deep woods, and of creatures that roam the dark forests, both real and imagined. But the true mystery of the highlands is in the echoes themselves. Why does the land seem to hold on to the past so tightly? What is it about these mountains that causes the whispers of ancient times to linger in the air, carried on the breeze like forgotten dreams? Some believe it is the land itself, imbued with the energy of the people who lived and died here. Others suggest that the echoes are a reflection of the land's deep connection to time, how it moves slowly yet steadily, carrying the weight of the ages with it. Some say that the echoes are simply the natural sounds of the land. The hills and valleys of Appalachia are known for their acoustics, where sounds travel through the air and bounce off the landscape in strange and beautiful ways. What might seem like a voice carried by the wind could be the sound of a distant stream, the rustle of leaves, or even the chirp of a hidden creature. Others believe that these echoes are more than just sounds. They are the memories of the land itself, passed down through the generations. Perhaps the mountains, like the people who lived here, never forget. They hold on to the stories and the whispers of the past, keeping them alive in the rustling of the trees and the howling of the wind. But whatever the explanation, the echoes of the Appalachian Highlands remain a mystery, one that may never be fully understood, yet continues to captivate those who listen. The echoes are a reminder that time, like the mountains, moves slowly, and that the stories of the past are always with us, quietly shaping the present. And so, the echoes of the Appalachian Highlands fade into the night, their whispers drifting gently away with the wind. The mountains hold their secrets, as they always have, and perhaps they always will. Let's move on now toward another quiet mystery where the land speaks in different ways, but the story is just as ancient. Now, let us pause for a moment as we travel to a quieter part of the Appalachian landscape where the earth itself seems to speak. This next story is about the Whispering Rocks, strange rock formations that dot the landscape, each one holding a secret of its own. The sound of the rocks may seem like the wind, but those who have listened closely know that these stones have a voice of their own. Let's listen closely as we explore the mystery of the whispering rocks. The rocks we speak of are not ordinary stones. They are ancient formations weathered by time and the elements, their surfaces smooth and rounded from centuries of rain, wind, and sun. These rocks stand tall on the mountain ridges scattered throughout the land, like quiet sentinels watching over the valleys below. Some of them are large and imposing, while others are small and hidden in the underbrush, their presence felt only by those who know where to look. But there is something unique about these rocks. At certain times of day, when the air is still and the wind is soft, you may hear a sound, faint at first like a whisper, as if the rocks are speaking to you. It's not a voice, not in the traditional sense, but a soft murmur that seems to echo through the land, carried by the wind. Yeah. For centuries, the people who lived in these mountains have passed down stories of the whispering rocks. The indigenous tribes believed that these rocks were sacred, that they held the spirits of the land, and that the rocks themselves could communicate with those who were willing to listen. The settlers who arrived later also heard the whispers and believed that the rocks were imbued with some kind of ancient energy, an energy that could speak to those who were attuned to the land. But even as the landscape changed and the mountains became home to more people, the mystery of the whispering rocks remained. Some believe that the sound is a result of the way the wind moves over the rocks, the air flowing through cracks and crevices, creating the illusion of a whisper. Others, though, believe that the rocks themselves are alive, carrying with them the stories of the past and the spirits of the earth. The mystery of the whispering rocks is one that has intrigued many, but no one has been able to explain it fully. Why do the rocks seem to speak at certain times? What causes the whispers to rise and fall, like a voice carried on the wind? Some say the sound is simply the natural movement of air over the rocks, a phenomenon that occurs when the conditions are just right. But others believe that there is more to it, something ancient and untold, something that links the rocks to the very soul of the land. The question remains, what are the rocks trying to say? Perhaps the whispers are meant to be heard, or perhaps they are meant to remain a secret, something only the mountains understand. The whispering rocks, like so many other mysteries of Appalachia, remain unsolved, leaving us to wonder and listen. The most scientific explanation for the whispers is likely a combination of wind and acoustics. As the wind moves across the rocks, it can create strange ethereal sounds as it passes through cracks, gaps, and hollows in the stone. This effect can be more pronounced in certain weather conditions, when the air is thick and still, allowing the sound to travel further and to be heard more clearly. Some have suggested that the stones themselves are made of materials that amplify sound in a unique way, creating the illusion of a whisper. But for those who have experienced the whispers firsthand, the explanation may not be so simple. Perhaps the rocks do hold something deeper, an energy, a history, or a message that we are still learning to understand. And so, The whispering rocks continue to murmur, their secrets hidden beneath the surface of the earth. Whether it is the wind or something more, the rocks remain a part of the landscape, a reminder that some mysteries are best left unspoken. Let's leave the rocks behind for now and move toward the next quiet story waiting in the shadows of the mountains. Let's drift now into another mystery, this time one that takes us back in time to the days of the Appalachian railroads. These railroads were once the lifeblood of the region, bringing goods and people through the mountains, connecting communities and bringing life to the land. But over the years the trains stopped running and the tracks were abandoned. Yet there are those who say that on certain nights the sound of a distant train can still be heard, its whistle echoing through the hills. As we draw closer to our next mystery, imagine the rhythmic sound of train wheels slowly turning on the tracks, the whistle in the distance cutting through the quiet night. But this is no ordinary train ride. The sound isn't from the present, but from a time long past, a ghostly remnant of an era that has all but disappeared. This is the story of the last train out, the phantom train that still echoes through the Appalachian valleys, traveling on long abandoned tracks. Picture yourself standing on the edge of an old railroad track, now long forgotten, the earth beneath your feet soft with the passing of time. The trees grow thick here, their branches intertwining above, and the quiet hum of the night surrounds you. The distant sound of crickets and rustling leaves fills the air. But then, there it is. A sound, faint at first like the soft whoosh of air moving along the rails. It's a sound that seems to come from nowhere, yet somehow it feels like it's coming from everywhere. As the sound grows louder, you begin to hear the unmistakable whistle of a train. But this isn't the whistle of a modern locomotive, it's softer, more distant, as though it's being carried by the wind from a time long ago. And as you stand there, the hair on the back of your neck begins to rise. The train, unseen but still present, passes through the valley, its whistle a haunting cry. It's as if the train never truly left, its journey incomplete, its tracks still calling those willing to listen. In these days before highways and cars, the Appalachian Mountains were crisscrossed with railroads that brought goods and people to and from the region. The trains were the lifeblood of the towns that lay nestled in the valleys, their tracks winding through the mountains, connecting communities in ways that were once unimaginable. The trains brought industry, commerce, and change to the region, but as the years went on, the rails began to fade away. In the mid-20th century, as cars became more common and the economy shifted, the mountain railroads were abandoned, their tracks left to rust and crumble beneath the growing forest. Towns that had once flourished because of the trains began to fade, their populations shrinking as industry moved elsewhere, and so the once bustling mountain railway fell silent, its engines now cold, its passengers gone. But even in the absence of the trains, something lingered. On quiet nights, when the wind was still and the moon shone bright, people would hear it, the ghostly whistle of the train drifting on the breeze, as though the railway had never truly left. The mystery of the last train. Out is a quiet one. No loud crashes or horrifying sights, but one that still captures the imagination of those who hear the story. Some say the ghost train is simply a figment of the mind, a product of the imagination carried on the winds that move through the valley. Others believe it's a more profound mystery, one that ties into the spirits of the mountain towns, the ghosts of those who worked the rails, who lived and died in the shadow of the trains. Could it be that the train is stuck in time, unable to finish its final journey? Is it trapped between the world of the living and the dead, traveling along forgotten tracks in search of something or someone? Theories abound, but the truth remains elusive as the train itself, which never stops long enough to be fully understood. One theory is that the sound of the last train out is the result of a strange atmospheric phenomenon. The mountains themselves, with their dense forests and steep ridges, create natural acoustics that can carry sounds over great distances. Perhaps on certain nights when the air is still, the sounds of passing trains from decades ago, now long gone, are reflected in the valleys, creating the illusion of a ghostly train still running. Some people also point to the phenomenon of train ghosts, stories of trains that continue to run along tracks that have been abandoned or torn up, carrying with them the energy of the past. Others believe that the last train out is more than just a trick of sound. Perhaps it's a manifestation of the past, an echo of the people who once relied on the train to get to work, to travel, or to visit family. The train may be more symbolic, a reminder of how the region has changed, of the things that have been left behind as the world moved on. The ghost train may represent the connection between the past and present, a link between generations, a reminder that the stories of those who came before us still echo through the landscape. And so, the last train out continues to whistle softly through the valleys, its journey never complete, its passengers never arriving. Perhaps it is simply a memory, a sound carried on the wind, lingering in the quiet night. As the train fades into the distance, we leave its mystery behind, knowing that some stories, like the mountains themselves, are eternal, echoing across time. Let's move forward now toward a new story where time is just as fluid and the mysteries are just as deep. As we ease into the next chapter of our journey, we find ourselves in the remote hollows of the Appalachian Mountains, where the earth is rich with secrets. This story takes us deep into the heart of the mountains, to hidden caves and forgotten paths that once housed something far more illicit: moonshine. For many years, the Appalachian region was known for its secretive moonshiners, who operated in the shadows, crafting their own whiskey and hiding their steals from the authorities. Tonight we'll explore the story of the Moonshiners' Caves, a place where the past lingers, hidden beneath the earth. Sesame. The caves of the Appalachian Mountains are ancient, their entrances often tucked away in remote places, hidden from view by dense forests and overgrown trails. The air in these caves is cool, damp with the moisture of the earth, and the walls are smooth, carved by water that has flowed through the rocks for centuries. Some caves are small, little more than crevices in the hills, while others are vast, with winding tunnels that stretch deep into the mountain's heart. It is in these caves that the moonshiners of the past hid their operations, crafting their illegal liquor in secret, away from the watchful eyes of the law. Today these caves are still whispered about by those who live in the region, and many locals know the stories of the moonshiners who once used these hidden spaces. During Prohibition in the early 20th century, the production of alcohol was banned across the United States, but in the Appalachian Mountains a different kind of economy emerged. Moonshiners began to make their own illegal whiskey, using secret caves and hidden stills to produce the liquor. These moonshiners would often operate in isolated parts of the mountains, away from the authorities, using the thick forests and rugged terrain to keep their operations hidden. The caves, with their natural insulation and hidden entrances, provided the perfect place to store the alcohol and run their stills without fear of detection. The moonshine trade flourished during this time, and many of these caves became the centers of production. But as the years passed and Prohibition ended, the caves were abandoned, left to be swallowed by time and nature. Yet the stories of the moonshiners remain, and the secrets of the caves linger in the shadows. Many of the caves used by moonshiners are still hidden today, their locations known only to a few. Some say that there are still hidden stashes of old moonshine, buried deep in the caves, untouched for decades. Others believe that the caves themselves hold the secrets of the moonshiners, stories of their lives, their struggles, and their hidden wealth. No one knows for sure what lies within these caves, but their mysteries are as deep as the mountains themselves. Some believe that the ghosts of the moonshiners still haunt these caves, their presence felt by those who wander too close. But whatever the truth, the caves remain a quiet reminder of a time long past, a time when the mountains hid their secrets beneath the earth. Some of the caves have been explored by local historians and adventurers, but many remain unexplored. The moonshine trade was deeply embedded in the culture of the Appalachian region, and the caves played an essential role in its secretive operations. Perhaps the moonshiners left more than just alcohol behind. Perhaps they left behind traces of their lives, stories that we will never fully understand. The caves, like the moonshiners themselves, remain a mystery, their secrets locked away in the cool, dark depths. It's possible that one day someone will uncover the hidden remains of the old moonshine trade, but for now the caves continue to hold their secrets, fading slowly into the shadows of the mountains. Kainasi Mountain is in, and so the moonshiners' caves remain hidden beneath the earth, their stories and secrets locked away in the cool, dark stone. Perhaps they will remain there forever, just like the ghosts of the past, softly whispering through the mountains, waiting for those who are willing to listen. Let's move on now to another mystery in these hills, one that continues to captivate the imagination even as it eludes the grasp of those who seek it. As we move forward, we come to one final tale from the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. This is the story of a figure who wanders the forests, a shadow that moves with the wind and the trees, seen only in fleeting glimpses, never fully understood. This is the story of the phantom hunter, a figure whose presence haunts the wilderness, silently watching from the shadows. As we slip deeper into the evening, our next mystery takes us to a place where the trees stretch high above, casting long shadows across the forest floor. In the depths of the Appalachian forests, where the roads are few and the trails even fewer, there is said to be a figure that moves silently through the woods. The phantom hunter is not a person, but a presence, an elusive, shadowy figure who is seen only in brief glimpses and whose footsteps are never heard. Tonight we will explore this figure and the mystery that surrounds its quiet, haunting existence. The Appalachian forests are a world unto themselves, full of ancient trees that have stood for centuries, their roots tangled deep in the earth. The air is thick with the scent of pine and moss, and the faint sound of leaves rustling in the wind creates a constant soothing hum. The forest here is dense and untouched by time, the sun barely able to penetrate through the thick canopy of leaves above. It is a place of stillness, where everything seems to move in slow motion, and yet there is a sense that something is always watching from the shadows. And it is in this quiet, remote part of the woods that the phantom hunter is said to appear. Go. The story of the phantom hunter has been passed down through generations, a legend that has been woven into the fabric of Appalachian folklore. Some say the phantom hunter is the spirit of an old woodsman, a man who once roamed these forests in search of game. Others believe the figure is a hunter who disappeared long ago, his body never found, his soul wandering the woods in search of something, a hunt that was never completed. The legend has varied over time, but the one constant is the figure itself, a shadowy presence who walks the forest silently, as though the earth itself has absorbed his steps. Some say the phantom hunter is a protector of the forest, watching over the land and its creatures. Others believe he is a lost soul, doomed to wander the wilderness for all eternity. But no one truly knows the truth, and that is what makes this mystery so haunting. Unlike other legends of creatures or spirits, the phantom hunter is not seen often, but his presence is undeniable. Those who have ventured into these woods on long hikes or quiet walks have reported strange feelings, like being watched from the trees, or hearing footsteps that are just beyond their reach. There are accounts of people seeing a shadow move swiftly between the trunks of the trees, or catching a glimpse of a figure standing motionless in the distance, but when they approach, the figure is always gone, vanishing without a trace as though it was never there. What is this mysterious presence that stalks the Appalachian woods? Is it a shadow of the past, a lost spirit trapped in the forest, or is it something more? Some say the figure is an embodiment of the wilderness itself, silent, ancient, and unyielding, just like the mountains. The theories surrounding the phantom hunter are as varied as the forest itself. Some believe that the sightings of the figure are simply the result of imagination, or the mind playing tricks in the isolation of the woods. The dense forests of Appalachia are known for their unique acoustics, and it's not uncommon for people to hear footsteps or rustling sounds that turn out to be nothing more than the wind or small animals moving through the underbrush. Others argue that the phantom hunter is a product of folklore, created to explain the eerie feeling one might experience when walking alone in the deep woods. The shadows play tricks on the eyes, and the mind fills in the gaps with stories of things that may or may not exist. Still, there are others who believe that the phantom hunter is real, a figure who once walked the woods and whose spirit remains bound to the land, watching over it silently even as the world changes around him. Perhaps the phantom hunter is not a ghost at all, but a part of the landscape itself, a spirit of the forest, a protector who remains hidden from view, watching from the shadows. Soft exit and transition. And so the phantom hunter continues to wander the forests, his presence felt but rarely seen. The mountains keep their secrets close and the woods remain undisturbed as the figure moves silently through the trees. Let's leave the phantom hunter behind for now and continue on our journey, for there are many more quiet mysteries that await us in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. Let's take another deep breath and let the quiet rhythm of the night carry us onward. Now we find ourselves standing before a mysterious sight, stone circles hidden in the hills of Appalachia. These circles, weathered by time and hidden deep in the woods, have puzzled explorers and archaeologists alike. Tonight we will uncover the story of these strange stone formations and the mystery they have kept for centuries. The Appalachian Mountains are dotted with ancient landmarks, some natural and some created by the hands of people long gone. One such mystery is the stone circles that can be found in the woods. Circular formations of large stones arranged in seemingly random patterns. These stone circles are not large, but their presence is undeniable, nestled in the heart of the forests, where the trees grow thick and the underbrush is dense. The air here is still, and the sounds of the forest fade as you approach these ancient formations. The stones themselves are weathered, their surfaces smoothed by centuries of rain and wind, but still standing firm against the passage of time. No one knows exactly who built these circles or why, but they remain as silent witnesses to a time long past. The stone circles stand waiting to be understood, holding the secrets of those who came before. The stone circles have long been a part of the Appalachian landscape, that though their exact origin remains unclear, some believe that these circles were created by early indigenous tribes as part of their spiritual or religious practices, using the stones to mark sacred ground or to align with the stars. Others suggest that the circles were built by settlers, either as markers for land or as part of a ritual of their own. Over the years, many theories have been proposed, but the truth remains elusive. The circles are spread out across the region, scattered through the hills, and their purpose is still not fully understood. What we do know is that the stone circles have remained intact through the centuries, weathering the storms, the changes in the landscape, and the hands of time. They are a reminder of the people who once lived here, of the rituals and beliefs that have been lost to history, but still live on in the quiet presence of these stones. The mystery of the stone circles is not one of great drama or intrigue, but one of quiet wonder. What were these circles for? Why were they built? Some believe they were used for celestial alignment, serving as primitive observatories for ancient people who studied the stars and the movements of the heavens. Others suggest that the stones were used in rituals, ceremonies designed to honor the earth or the spirits of the land. Still others believe that the circles were simply markers for navigation or landmarks for travelers making their way through the dense forest. But despite all the theories, the true purpose of the stone circles remains a mystery, hidden beneath the earth and the centuries that have passed. There are many possible explanations for the stone circles, but none that can definitively solve the mystery. Some archaeologists have suggested that the circles are a form of early astronomy aligning with the movements of the sun or the stars, much like the stone circles of ancient Europe. Others believe that the circles may have been created as part of burial rituals, a way to honor the dead or to mark sacred ground. The presence of the stone circles in the Appalachian region also suggests a deep connection to the land, an understanding of nature's rhythms and cycles that was passed down through generations. Whatever the true origin, the stone circles remain an enduring mystery, a symbol of the past that continues to intrigue those who seek answers. And so, the stone circles stand quietly in the woods, their secrets hidden beneath layers of earth and time. We leave them behind now, knowing that some mysteries may never be solved but are meant to be quietly pondered as we drift into the night. Let's continue on, knowing that the mountains, like the stone circles, hold many secrets yet to be uncovered. Our next story takes us to the deep woods, to a place where the land is thick with trees and the air is rich with the scent of pine. In the quiet valley of Big Creek, strange lights appear in the darkness, flickering like distant stars. These ghostly lights have appeared for centuries, but their origin is shrouded in mystery. Tonight, let's uncover the story of the ghost lights of Big Creek and the lost souls they are said to represent. Big Creek is a secluded valley, hidden deep in the Appalachian wilderness. The land is rugged, with steep hills and dense forests that seem to swallow the sun as it sets. The creek itself flows quietly through the valley, its waters clear and cold, the sound of the current gentle against the rocks. But as night falls, something strange happens. In the distance, along the banks of the creek, lights begin to appear. At first they are faint, just tiny glimmers in the darkness. But as the night deepens, the lights grow brighter, floating silently over the water, moving in ways that seem almost deliberate. The people who live near Big Creek have long been familiar with the ghost lights, though no one knows their origin. Some say the lights are the spirits of those who died along the creek, their souls trapped in the valley, wandering forever in search of peace. Others believe the lights are the result of natural phenomena, reflections of the water, or the light of fireflies caught in the cool night air. But no matter the explanation, the lights are an integral part of the landscape, a feature of Big Creek that has captivated the imaginations of locals and visitors alike for generations. Many tales have been told of the lights, some hopeful, some sad, and some dark, but all of them carry with them a sense of mystery, one that is never fully explained.